Being here at Lagoon when the park is closed is a bucket list for me. And even though it is an operating, functional amusement park, there is a ton of history inside. In fact, this park has been here for 135 years. It's one of the oldest amusement parks in the nation. They used to do this thing in the 80s and 90s. You could bring a can of Coke, and if you'd say the bird is the word, they'd give you like $5 off. They still give you $7 off your ticket. So Lagoon started as Lake Park in 1896. It was on the shores of the Great Salt Lake. A couple of years later, when the lake was receding, it moved to its current location. Built by the Denver Rio Grande Railroad, which you may remember, we were just at the Rio Grande station. They built this as a trolley park. Most of them are gone now. I think there are only like 11 of them left, of which this is one of the oldest. Closed for a couple of years because of this whole World War II thing. When it reopened, the park was in a little bit of disrepair. It needed a lot of work. That's when the Freed brothers stepped in and created the Lagoon Amusement Corporation. They have been operating the park ever since. It is one of the oldest and only family-owned parks in the United States, way back in the 1940s. You'd get a lot of big band entertainment acts, but because of Utah law at the time didn't allow black families to use the pool and use the ballroom with white families, even though some of the artists that were playing here were in fact black artists, the Freed family actually lobbied to have the laws changed and were instrumental in changing the codes here in Utah. When you think about the historic rides at Lagoon, obviously the Carousel, right? Built in 1908. And the roller coaster, which was built in 1921. But the other historic ride is the Flying Aces, built in 1947. What's more American than that? We beat the Nazis, and then we started opening roller coasters and amusement parks again. That's how America rolls, baby. This is an area called Game Time. It's now a video arcade, but back in the day, it was the Patio Gardens. This is where kids would be dancing to Janis Joplin, to the Doors, to the Who, to the Rolling Stones. In fact, in 1966, they actually had a chance to book the Beatles, but they would have cost $10,000. They spent $5,000 and booked the Rolling Stones instead. I'll be honest, I'd rather see the Stones. So if you find these pictures of the Who and Janis Joplin playing in here, you'll see these starlights kind of hanging there. You can see this rounded edge kind of poking out above that wall. That was the stage. The Monkees played there. So, as if a global pandemic and a moderate earthquake that hit Salt Lake City last year weren't enough, the Salt Lake area also had a major windstorm in September of 2020. It downed more than 200 trees. Some of the trees fell on the attractions, one of which was Bulgy the Whale. And sadly, Bulgy, a childhood favorite of mine, was pretty much destroyed by that tree stump right over there. The people at Lagoon found an original Bulgy the Whale from the 1950s for sale on the internet. And check it out! Bulgy's back! Dude, I can't believe it. We're walking on the original roller coaster at Lagoon. I always call it the white roller coaster, even though if you look, obviously it's not white anymore. In the 50s, they started whitewashing to protect it from the elements. This was originally from 1921. Part of it burned down in a famous Lagoon fire in 1953. So sections of the roller coaster are rebuilt every year. Even though it looks and feels just as rickety as it might have in 1921, it's very, very safe. This carousel, not merry-go-round, merry-go-rounds just have horses. Each one of these characters hand-carved. It was transported to Lagoon in 1906, built sometime in the 1800s. If you look up in the tops, when you're closest to the roller coaster, you can actually see charred wood that it's the remnants of that 1953 fire. So one of the Lagoon classics, one of my all-time favorite rides, the Terroride, created by a guy named Bill Tracy, who was famous in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s for his spooky dark rides. And there's actually two Bill Tracy rides here at Lagoon. One is this one, the other is Dracula's Castle. I want to say it was like back in like 2009, they took out this mural, Monster Baseball. I was so bummed. And they replaced it with like this creepy vulture thing. But then, to celebrate the anniversary a couple of years ago, they brought it back. We're walking the Terroride. I'm so excited. This is so cool. These are all original to the ride when it was first created by Bill Tracy in the 1960s. So these are actual wax figures from the day that the ride opened, which is really cool. Oh yeah, this is a classic right here.
There are these troll figures.
Right.
Which you may have remembered in the past they were behind glass.
It's so funny that like people lose their minds over certain things nowadays, but like back in the day, like in the wholesome 1950s and 60s Americana, you've got a bloated green head with entrails hanging out of it. And everybody was like, oh, that's so cute. And this is the dreaded horn. It gets me every time. Honk! So a big thanks to Adam Leishman for letting us tour Lagoon today. Lagoon is open now on weekends. It'll be open during the summer for 2021. Find out more at lagoonpark.com. And until next time, comment below on what you want to see us explore and find out more about here on Cool Stuff in Utah. Like it, subscribe to it, tell your friends, and I'll see you next time.